Good evening, everyone. I'm Steve Hensley, live from downtown Pikeville at Hillbilly Days, the first festival since 2019. It's certainly great to be back, and it was on just about this very spot 3 years ago in 2019 where I was standing preparing for the 5:30 newscast when a sudden storm nearly took me out. Well, it went viral almost immediately, but if somehow you have not seen it, and I've had I don't know how many people mention it to me today, well, here it is.
This is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Steve Hensley, live from Hillbilly Days in downtown Pikeville, and literally 20 seconds ago, we're on the air right now, 20 seconds ago, it came a downpour, and we'll do the best we can here. I hope you can still hear me. Let's go to Marianne Fletcher. She has more on day 2. And back here live at Hillbilly Days, Marianne Fletcher is with me with a little fussy baby. But we have more on day 2, don't we, Marianne?
Oh, exactly. That day was absolutely crazy. I was sitting in the bureau with then brand new reporter, Buddy Forbes. We were sitting in there, and the next thing we know is we see just white right past the sidewalk. And then the next thing we know, chaos. Chaos. We have about 10 people coming into the bureau soaking wet. And I mean, it was definitely one to remember.
It was. So you're not with us anymore. You've had a baby since Hillbilly Days,
Exactly.
2019. So, but it's good to see you again. And tell me, do people still mention that to you that day?
Anytime I get recognized, they say, "Do you have more on day 2? Do you have more on day 2?" I'm like, yes, I will always have more on day 2, trust me.
So this is Teddy, your son's. He's fine. Somebody got him.
Yeah.
He's fine. So this is Teddy's first Hillbilly Days Festival. How have you enjoyed this year so far?
It is. And honestly, he's loved it. He probably just wants to go get an ice cream or an icy or a donut, something like that. That's probably why he's so upset, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him. But it's so nice to be able to bring my son here after coming here for so many years and really continuing the tradition.
All right, Marianne, always good to see you. Thank you for coming by and reliving one of my most infamous moments.
I wouldn't miss it for the world.
All right. Well, you know, there's a lot of history here in this festival. It started in the late 1970s. WYMT's Jordan Mullins spoke to some Shriners, members of the Hillbilly Clan, and the son of one of the festival's founders to discuss the true reason behind this event.
In the late 70s, 2 Shriners came together to plan a parade involving local churches and schools.
Back in 1977, my dad, the late Shady Grady Kinney, and Dirty Ear Harry Stratton came up with an idea that they'd like to have a parade.
More than 40 years later, that small parade has turned into a large festival in the city of Pikeville.
It's a great thing. I mean, it's a great festival with a great mission, and we're very glad to be part of it.
A festival with a purpose, making sure the Shriners Hospitals for Kids can help as many children as possible.
This is a festival with a heart, being the Shriners Hospital. You come here and you have fun, you spend your money, and a good portion of that money is going to go to the Lexington or Cincinnati Shriners Hospital.
Kenny says nearly 1,000 local children are patients at the hospital, but the Shriners ensure it stays free with this event as well as others.
The transportation of kids to Lexington, to see physicians and appointments, there is no cost to visiting the Shriners Hospitals.
Taking care of local kids by celebrating hillbilly heritage. In Pikeville, Jordan Mullins, WYMT Mountain News.
Kenny says the festival has brought in more than $4 million for the children's hospitals since 1977. Evan Hatter joins me now live here in downtown Pikeville. The sun still shining bright on us. It's been where we haven't been used to this heat. I mean, it's really just, I guess, in the low 80s. But it seems hotter because we're not used to this.
Right. Late April, this is hot for late April. But, you know, if I had an 80-degree day with dew points in the low 50s in June, I'd be jumping for joy. So really not that bad. It's just a little warm where we are right now. And it's thanks to that sunshine we've seen plenty of today. We had the clouds yesterday, plenty of sunshine here today, not just here in Pikeville, but out at and Hazard as well.
Go to it.
Clouds, just a few fair weather clouds this afternoon as we continue to work on through the region. Mountain Parkway at Slade, plenty of sunshine there as well. A little bit of traffic on the Mountain Parkway as people get their weekend started around the mountains. Temperatures upper 70s, low 80s. We're at 79 here in Pikeville. Our warm spot, Monticello's at 84, but many of us still in those low 80s around the region. As we look at radar, Pinpoint Doppler is a clean sweep. Just some of that low-level moisture, and it's not a ton of moisture out there. So dry skies continue as we run through the remainder of this evening and really into tomorrow as well. But that dinnertime forecast out there for tonight, we're going to be slowly falling through the 70s. By 6 o'clock, mostly sunny. Mild conditions continue by 7, and we're in the low 70s. Beautiful conditions as the sun starts to set around 8 o'clock. So an absolutely gorgeous evening continues here in downtown Pikeville. And the events continue here at Hillbilly Days.
The parade, 2 o'clock tomorrow. It'll be warm, but it's going to be a beautiful evening. I'm sure it'll be a big crowd here tonight.
Indeed. Oh, the crowd's already assembling. We can already see folks. I mean, we've seen a lot of people today, but even more on the way in as we head into an absolutely gorgeous evening.
Yeah, even when I got in here around 1 or 2 o'clock this afternoon, there was big crowds here. So I think they're going to see maybe record crowds. But
Indeed. Some of the longest food lines I've seen at any of the festivals I've been to. Now, I only started really going to festivals back in the fall, but a lot of people here today.
And that's understandable, you know, the first one since 2019.
Right. Indeed.
Evan, thank you. We'll have more from Evan and more from Hillbilly Days a little bit later on. But we want to go now to Dakota Makeris in our studio in Hazard with more of today's news. Dakota?
All right, y'all, thank you very much. Well, several major wildfires are threatening communities in the Southwest, especially over in Arizona. More than 32 square miles are reported to be burned, leading Arizona's governor to declare a state of emergency yesterday. Reports read that at least 24 homes and businesses burned down, forcing 750 families to evacuate. There are 2 other states currently working on wildfires, New Mexico and Colorado. While as wildfires continue to burn in the West, President Joe Biden is spending Earth Day in Seattle, where he's detailing a new executive order to protect the nation's forests. President Joe Biden campaigned on combating climate change as a top priority, but some environmental groups say the president's record so far falls short, especially on recent actions to address high gas prices. Natalie Brand has more from the White House.
With firefighters predicting a higher wildfire risk this spring and summer, President Biden is using this Earth Day to unveil a new plan to make federal forests more resilient.
I just think this is the beginning of a new day.
Under the president's new executive order, federal agencies will conduct a first-ever inventory of old-growth forests on federal lands within a year and develop policies to protect older trees, key to fighting climate change because they can store more carbon, though the order does not ban the logging of older trees.
Scientists estimate that the protection and restoration of our natural lands and waters can provide more than 1/3 of the solution to climate change.
But the president has been criticized by some environmental groups as his most ambitious climate proposals remain stalled in Congress.
We've been frustrated with President Biden and the administration's unwillingness to use the full might of the federal government to address climate change.
Eric Pica of Friends of the Earth is especially critical of recent actions announced by the Biden administration to address high gas prices, such as resuming new leases for drilling on federal lands.
He's only 1 year into his administration. There's still a lot of promise in what they could do.
We need Congress to act as well.
Friday, the president again called on Congress to act on legislation to fight climate change and curb energy costs. But time could run out if Republicans take control of Congress in November's midterm elections. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, the White House.
Well, today the president also touted provisions from the bipartisan fiscal infrastructure law, which includes more than $1.5 billion for state, local and tribal forestation programs. Well, there is still a huge gender gap in the fields of science and engineering, but an inspiring group of young girls is defying that trend and learning how to protect the environment. The City Parks Foundation in New York created a program called Green Girls. Young women meet weekly for hands-on lessons about the environment and how to protect it. Women make up less than 28% of science, tech, engineering, and math jobs. Program manager Myra Sanchez says with the right encouragement, that could change.
Already a lot of stigma against young women in school, being able to answer questions, voicing their concerns about something, and just getting the ability to speak. It allows them to build their voice, be surrounded by other young women their age, but also be able to facilitate that ability to be inquisitive.
Well, you can find the curriculum for Green Girls at cityparksfoundation.org. Well, coming up here on Mountain News at 5:30, the politics of child pornography. I'll tell you why lawmakers are at odds over how much time offenders should serve.
More gorgeous sunshine continues around the region this afternoon. We'll continue to see more sunshine. I'll have the details on how warm it gets tomorrow coming up.